Hey girls and gals, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and today's video is going to be a book haul of all of the books I either bought or received November through January last year, 2024. I had a little bit of an informal no-buy, and it wasn't necessarily a no-buy, but it was a very conscientious buy only. So I only bought, I think, about 4 books total spread throughout the year, and that worked really well for me. Now, for a number of reasons, I am easing back on that a little bit in 2025. I'm still planning on buying very conscientiously, but I am going to allow myself to buy some more books. So the book hauls are coming back. My goals for these book hauls are to not have so many books that I have to film one every single month. And then also, as I'm filming these, they're kind of like an accountability for me to see how many books I'm bringing in versus how many ones that I've actually read. So hopefully my book hauls will be a recap of mostly books I've read. Fingers crossed for that. That's the softer goal for 2025. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into this book haul. So the first category of books are going to be book subscription boxes, and I am subscribed to 2. So I have the Illumicrate Evernight box that comes out 4 times a year, and I don't have any pressure to always get that one. I'll skip if I figure out what the book is and it doesn't interest me. And then I also in December joined the Aardvark book club. So in December I got my first box. I got 2 books in that box, and the first one was an add-on, and I went ahead and picked up American Rapture by CJ Lead. This is one of my favorite books of 2024. I wanted to own a copy. This one, since it was an add-on for Aardvark, it was cheaper than going to the bookstore and buying it, and this copy also signed. So I really wanted to add this one to my collection. So that was the first book that I got in the December box. And then for the monthly picks, I got The Resurrectionist by A. Ray Dunlap, and I have not read this one yet, but I am looking forward to it. I think I have plans to read this in a themed reading vlog in February, I believe. So I think that's how my content plans will work out. This is historical horror. It's about 2 people who dig up graves in the pursuit of science. So that was December's box. And then in January, the monthly pick that I got was Moth Eater. This is by Linda H. Kodega, and this is a queer, dark, kind of horror-ish, I believe, fantasy, and it's set in the Appalachian Mountains. So I am intrigued. I have a definite plan to read this one. I haven't yet. I did just get this book, however, but I'm planning on reading it in February or March as a part of a themed reading vlog. So even though I haven't read it, I do have plans to read this one. And then I also got, it was a reason I actually set my alarm for 7 a.m. New Year's Day. Aardvark's book of the year was The Reformatory by Tananarive, and this one I woke up bright and early to grab one of their special edition book of the year copies. And what that means is that the dust jacket, underneath the dust jacket, we have the hardcover, which is so beautiful, and then we also have it signed, which is so exciting. So I did manage to wake up very early and grab a copy of this book. This book I've already read. It was actually in my favorite books of 2023. So this is another one already had read, but it was just a chance to get a signed copy of one of my favorite books of the year. So I did go ahead and grab this one as well for Aardvark. I don't typically plan on getting 2 books in a box, just that's how it shook out for the past 2 months. The next category is books that I bought outside of a subscription service, and I only have 2. I bought both of these in November in a very needed trip to Barnes & Noble. November sucked for me for so many reasons, and I just, you know, I needed some book retail therapy. So I went ahead, went to Barnes, and I did pick up a copy of Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay, the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition with the sprayed edges, and also the like notes throughout the book, including on like the end pages. And I really loved this one. I love the weird direction Paul Tremblay is going in. I think with each new release, his books are getting more and more divisive, and that really works for me in the horror genre. The Pallbearers Club and Horror Movie both were excellent horror books in my opinion. This just barely managed to not make it on my top books of 2024. 2024 was so horror heavy for me. family, and I had so many wonderful horror books. So this one just like barely didn't make it, but I really loved this one. I wanted to have a physical copy, and so I got that one. And then I also picked up a book to end out a series that I've been reading, and that is The Ending Fire by Sarah El-Arifi. And this one, I own the first 2 books in the series, just needed the 3rd book, and I'm really excited to continue on with this series. I didn't actually continue on with this series last year, but I did start her newest series, Feybound, and I enjoyed that as well. So I am excited to go back, finish this one, and then continue on with her new series, Feybound, that's still currently putting out books. And then the final category for this book haul is gifts, and I'm kind of stretching the definition of that with the first book in this section, because the first book is the Poppy War, Rebecca's edition by R.F. Kuang, and this one I actually purchased, but I purchased it as a gift for my partner, but it does live on our shelves. I mean, they're my shelves, but they're our shelves, right? You get what I mean if you have a partner. But I am the reader, but I am encouraging him to read more, and a number of years ago, this is the series that got him back into reading as an adult. So I did pick up this beautiful copy. It's got sprayed edges, and it also has illustrations without. This is just me and my partner's, like, collectively, this is our favorite series. It got him into reading again, and this is technically his book, so it's a gift. I didn't buy it for myself, but it is such a gorgeous copy of a gorgeous book, so I did want to show it off a little bit. I really hope that they come out with editions for the other 2 books in this series. I'm a big fan of this series, but I do love how it is changed around a little bit more for Rin on the cover to kind of be imagined more like what she was described as in the books, including the weapons that she carries. So I really love this book. And again, a moment of silence for the sprayed edges. They're just so cool. I love the fact that sprayed edges are just becoming more of a thing, because hardback books are expensive. If I'm paying $30+ for a hardcover, why not just give some sprayed edges? So yeah, this one, I'm cheating a little bit with calling it a gift because I did purchase it, but I purchased it for someone else. So it's the thought that counts. I just think this edition is absolutely gorgeous. And then of course, in December, we had Christmas. So my family knows I'm a reader. I usually get a good amount of books within my Christmas presents, and this year was no exception. So on one side of the family, on my side of the family, my family got me Mary, An Awakening in Horror by Nat Cassidy. Already read this a couple of years ago, absolutely love it. Nat Cassidy is one of my favorite horror writers, so I just wanted a physical copy of this one to add to my collection. I was also gifted Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wang, and this was one of my favorite books of the year, so I also needed a physical copy. This has gorgeous red sprayed edges, and I read this one via audiobook, so I am really looking forward to reading this one physically this year. I already want to give it a reread. It was so impactful, and I think I already have plans to reread it with one of my Books to Grow mutuals. So I am excited to read this again this year. Really glad to have a physical copy on my shelves. I don't have a copy of every single book I've ever read. That would be wildly unsustainable because I read about 150 books a year, but I do like to have the physical copies of my favorite books just to have a very curated collection. So even though I've already read this one on audio and I do own the audiobook, I definitely wanted a physical copy to treasure as well. And then I was also gifted a copy of A Wild and Ruined Song by Ashley Shuttleworth. This is the 4th book in the Dark and Hollow Star series, a series that I'm currently working my way through and absolutely loving. This is the final book in the series, so I am hoping to get to this one next year, but I love this cover. This cover also thematically, if you've read any of the books in the series, makes me a little nervous, just hinting at things to come for our main characters, but I am so excited to keep on reading this series and hopefully finish it up in 2025. So that was my side of the family. My partner's side of the family gifted me Dracula by Bram Stoker, and this is one of my favorite classics, and I wanted a beautiful copy to put on my shelves. I didn't have one on my shelves, and just because I love vampires so much, I pretty much have an entire shelf dedicated to vampires at this point, and I just wanted one of like the Barnes and Noble classic editions to keep on my shelf. So this one also, after seeing Nosferatu and falling in love just again with gothic vampire fiction, I kind of want to dive back into this one this year. It starts out in May actually, and yeah, 3rd of May. So this may be a reread for May, but I love this edition. I love the simplicity of it. I love just how beautiful it is, and I'm really excited to have one of my favorite classics on my shelves. And then that side of the family also got me a Barnes & Noble gift card, in which I have already done some damage and ordered some hardback editions of a book series that this one I already have copies down here, but the Bone Season series by Samantha Shannon got some new editions and republished covers. So there's a new cover design for the rest of the series, so I did have to get, I didn't have to, but I wanted to, because this is again another one of my favorite series, just to make my entire series cohesive and match with each other. So I got the Mime order, and I do really love these covers. I think they're absolutely stunning. I love the use of color, because sometimes I feel like fantasy, we don't go enough into just gorgeous jewel tones and just any sort of color. Like I'm talking about, I think romantasy is actually better at this, but just traditional fantasy, we don't use enough colors. Like we use red, we use blue, that's about it. So I am a sucker for these covers. Also got the Song Rising, which I think this is my favorite color scheme out of all the ones that have been published so far. I just love the pinks and the purples, and I love the flower details, because flowers are really symbolic in this series. So I like that there are more aspects other than just like a generic design that are incorporated in these new covers. And then last but not least, of course, I got the Mask Falling. So I'm now all caught up on that physical series, and the next book in the series is coming out in February, so I will be purchasing that. So we already know that I'm purchasing at least one book in February. But that is going to be it for this short and sweet little book haul. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, subscribe to my channel, stay safe, stay spooky, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye!